So, John, you were just on a panel that was titled Where Technology and Humanity Meet. And this was a very powerful panel, and I'm going to get into that. But first, very quickly, what were some of the main takeaways for you from the panel?
Gosh, it was such a great discussion because everything that Michael brought from a kind of love, matchmaking, connection perspective was kind of a beautiful parallel to the healthcare, hope, despair, anxiety, tragedy kind of component that I brought to it. So it was two nice sides of the coin of the humanity element and how AI can maybe reinforce that and augment that, but certainly in no way replace it.
And I think it was interesting because Steve Madden, who obviously is with MM+M, started out the panel basically citing two articles that recently came out in the New York Times and the Financial Times that was very kind of like critical of AI in a way, or sort of like questioning, is AI going to destroy mental health, or is it going to kind of ruin human connection? Because so many people are relying on AI now. But your story really kind of turned that over on its head and really proved that technology and humanity can work together to make lives better for patients. So can you just very briefly provide our audience with your story, your personal story, and how you used AI to kind of, help explain something medical to your daughter?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I, by chance, had identified a serious heart condition. I was born with a bicuspid valve, which I had no idea I had. Which means there's normally 3 leaflets open. I only had 2 open, and I was living my life with this condition. I mean, I used to be a triathlete. I swam from Alcatraz twice. I was very active with basketball and had no idea I had this, no symptoms. And it was by chance we identified the murmur, which led to the identification of the leaky heart valve. And then the aneurysm by further tests, which is a swollen part of the aorta, the main pipe coming out of the heart. And we realized very quickly that I needed surgery in a time frame of weeks to months. And so one of the hardest, most emotional moments in that was, how on earth can we explain this situation to our young children? My girl, who's now 11, my boy, who's now 10, we thought, wow, what is it that we can do to create a connection and explain it on their terms? And so my daughter's a big Swiftie. She has been for a long time. And so I thought, wow, maybe, just maybe, could AI help me create a Taylor Swift-inspired learning moment here? And so what I did was I took my entire clinical narrative, reams and reams and pages of, my condition, the diagnoses, all the different types of surgery options, leaky heart valve, regurgitation, aneurysm, the David procedure, valve sparing, all this stuff, put it in. And I said, I set the context. I explained what I was going through, what the situation was. And I said, can you explain this complexity, this clinical narrative, in a way that an 11-year-old would understand through the voice and tone of Taylor Swift trivia and lyrics? And it was just magic coming off the screen. I was like, wow. And so then I took it one step further and I said, wow, maybe I can make a song, literally make a song for her. And so John Duffield was the director, ChatGPT was the writer and the lyricist, and Suno AI was the composer. And all of a sudden, I created this song. It was called An Aortic Story to describe my aortic condition. And it was this incredible moment where it was joyful, it was tearful, it gave us hope, it gave them explanation. And I'll never forget the moment that I told my daughter that I'd written a song for her that describes what's happening with Daddy's heart. And it was absolutely key to not only her understanding, but the moment where my wife and I realized that I think it's going to be okay. There is hope. Everyone understands, and we're going through this journey together.
It's really an incredible story, and I know so many in the audience were moved by it. So thank you for sharing that. And, I think it is such an important example of the way that AI and humanity can be can have an intersection and become even more powerful. One of the other things that you mentioned during the panel is how AI can help alleviate anxiety for patients as well, because, so many times pharma and healthcare marketers are focused on the physical symptoms and, explaining the science behind how drugs work. But having gone through the experience yourself, you went through a lot of anxiety around, upcoming surgeries and treatments and things like that. How can AI help in that way, like in the mental health kind of anxiety way for patients?
I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I woke up in the middle of the night in the lead up to the surgery in a cold sweat, like wondering what it's going to be like having your sternum sawn in half. I mean, the anxiety was real. It is real. And there's only so much research you can read, focus groups and interviews you can have with patients. Going through something like that the anxiety is real. And I did further research, and 30% of all US healthcare spend is on addressing anxiety-related causes and conditions, which is just huge. And so for me, having an AI tool, an agent that I built that was trained on everything I could find on the web about the cardiac surgery journey, my procedure, my surgeon, who's the chief cardiothoracic surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, incredible man. He's written a lot of publications, citations, a lot of interviews. I found everything I could of him, took transcripts of videos, everything, and I trained an agent on him. And so when I woke up in the middle of the night with those anxiety attacks almost, I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole of searching Google or Reddit. I wanted answers delivered straight to me. So I used my agent that was trained on the circumstance. And I trained it to deliver its response through the empathy of a loving family member. All of a sudden, I felt confident. I had compassionate guidance. I had a level of, I'm here with you. I'll help you understand what's coming. And it was very disarming, very empowering. And I thought, gosh, if that can help me, then this can help any kind of patient dealing with a major traumatic experience, or a caregiver going through this with a family member or patient. And so the anxiety is real. And I have a feeling that AI can help reduce levels of anxiety by helping patients be more informed when they're not in front of a human clinician, because nobody knows what it feels like to wait between visits until you get more answers. So that's what AI did a lot for me.
Absolutely. And on that note, where do you hope to see AI go in the future when it comes to, reaching humanity and amplifying humanity in a way?
Yes, well, for me, I think I was lucky that I had the ability to kind of cobble together some systems and agents and things for myself to help me. I've got to hope that at some point it's literally going to be as easy as text messaging. It's easy as a single app that has everything in it so that any patient at any moment can get access to what they need. I think that when we think about patients that are, geographically restricted from being close to leading academic centers or in rural areas, not accessible to great care, that they can also not only have answers on medical procedures, but also that compassionate guidance and level of help for their anxiety in the lead up to something they might be going through. So that's in the realm of patients. But I think, for the wider humanity, I think and hope that it can still help us address some of the biggest problems the world's facing right now. Climate can change, homelessness, famine. Hopefully the biggest problems are being pointed through the lens of AI. So I think that's some of the things I'm excited about when it comes to the wider humanity.
And any final advice for healthcare and pharma marketers as they continue to evolve their AI practices, especially when it comes to reaching patients and incorporating that lived experience?
Yes, 100%. Like, how can you begin to think you can create systems and tools and programs for patients without having them involved in that co-creation process? So go out there, find real patients, bring them in, co-create with them. Secondarily, invest and support in patient entrepreneurs and pioneers that are literally part of this tech survivor network who resourcefulness and skilled in technology or creativity or design, and can actually contribute and build and stand up prototypes that can help not only them, but future patients, find them, invest in them, partner with them, and be open about the restrictions that medical, legal, regulatory provide, and partner with those key folks, bring them early into the concepting and brainstorming journey. So it's not just at the end of having a prototype or a system or a new tool or an app and then trying to run it through medical, legal, regulatory. Bring them along so they can feel a sense of ownership in the creation process. But I really think patients, and more patients that are resourceful and savvy, need to be invested in and brought early into the creative process.
Absolutely, John. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.